Good morning and welcome to our first EEI webinar. We're really excited that you joined us today. My name is Steve Smith and I work here at Hal Leonard. My primary role here at Hal Leonard is to work with the Essential Elements Interactive website. Prior to coming to Hal Leonard, I was a middle school band director in Texas for 12 years. And now my role is to work with the Essential Elements Interactive website and try and develop it and let it be a great resource for you and your students. We have a lot of things to get through in a short amount of time. We're going to try and keep this to our 30-minute time window. So let's kind of dig right in. I'm going to hop off screen and kind of get right into what we're going to talk about. Okay. And like I said, we have a lot to get through in this 30 minutes. So if you do have questions, we are able to answer those. We're going to keep moving with our presentation, kind of keep moving through it. But if something pops in your mind, you want to ask a question, we do have a chat board over here on the right. And we have EEI experts who are here, and they're following along, and they can answer your questions as they come up. So if you have a question you want to ask, if you have a question you've been wanting to ask, go ahead and put it up there, and we'll get that answer to you. If they can't answer it live here in the webinar, then we may contact you after the webinar and kind of get you that answer after the webinar. But if you have questions, please put them up there. Somebody else might have that same question. The plan for what we're going to do today, we're going to talk real quick through using the EEI Music Studio to help your kids practice, just some ideas about that. We're going to talk about recording assignments at various levels. We're going to also walk through the gradebook to kind of show you some of the features and how you can keep track of your students and keep track of their progress. And then we're going to talk about self-assessment rubrics that we have available in EEI and how you can use those to be really beneficial for your students. And then we have EEI lesson plans, some just different ideas, some lessons that you can use. And actually, if you look right now, you have a handouts tab. And if you click on that handouts tab, you're going to find several PDFs in there. And the EEI lesson plans are a part of that. But at any time during the presentation, go ahead and download those PDFs. Those are yours to use. But we will talk about those EEI lesson plans a little bit towards the end. So the EEI Music Studio can be really beneficial for students. And it's designed to be a really simple setup process. And there are tutorials available on eeiblog.com as well as in the help section of Essential Elements Interactive in your site. So we're not going to talk about the specific setup of students today. You can look for that information on those sites. But once students get into EEI and they get to use the Music Studio, it's a really simple and easy tool to use. It is cloud-based. They can get to it on any browser. Chrome is our recommended browser, so if they have Chromebooks, they're easily able to use them on Chromebooks or any kind of laptop or computer with a microphone. We also have iOS apps, so they can use it on an iPad or an iPhone or an iPod if they have that access to the internet on an iPod. And then we also have Android apps. And I will mention right now, we're working with Google to improve our Android app. There are a couple of issues with that, but just wanted to pass along that we are addressing that, and that will be back up and fully operational very, very soon. But as far as the actual Music Studio, it's designed to work with onboard microphones for laptops, or if there's a USB microphone, you want to connect it to a desktop computer, but you do need a microphone if you're going to plan to record. You can use the studio just to do a play along if you want to, but if you're going to record, you are going to need a USB microphone or an onboard microphone for a laptop. We do recommend if they're going to record that students use headphones. It separates their audio from the background track. You know, if you've got audio coming from the speakers of your laptop and students are playing, it's going to record both of those. But we do recommend headphones. That's going to get a little bit better recording. The ideal setup would be if they had a good USB microphone with headphones, they're going to get the best quality of recording. And those USB microphones, you're probably talking like, $10 or $15. Again, not required, but if you want to go to that next level and get a little higher quality of recording, not just the microphone on the computer, that might be a good investment for some of your students. Now let's take a look at the Music Studio. We're in the student account right now. And one thing I would recommend, if you can, as a teacher, we recommend that you create your own student account as a part of your class that allows you to see what the students are seeing. So if you have an extra book kind of lying around, you can use one of those activation codes to create an account. Or if you need help with that, just contact us at eei@halleonard.com and we can get you set up with a way to create a student account. But it's really going to let you see what your students are seeing. So with the Music Studio, it's a lot of really great things they can do. Music's on the screen in case they forget their books. But one of the things that we really recommend, they have play-along tracks. And one of the unique features of EEI, we have this accompaniment menu. And we'll talk about these various accompaniments in a second. But if they choose none and leave the melody checked, this gives them a chance to hear a professional clarinet player. And we call these play-along tracks, but one thing that you might want to recommend your students do is that they just listen to what this clarinet player sounds like. And you can do this in class as well. Have this on the board and have the students just listen to see what this person sounds like. This is a professional clarinet player playing Rolling Along. So you can talk about what kind of sounds that person is making. You can get them to describe it, talk about note length, and then when they play it themselves, they can compare themselves to what their model is supposed to sound like. So I think a lot of times we talk about play along, kids just play along with the professional. Have them take a moment and just listen to it on its own and then try and match that. So that's kind of an important part of what they can do. Brass players, something that's really helpful is, if you come in here, I always like to have my students practice on the mouthpiece. So they can come in and, again, they can set up none and melody, and then they have this melody track where they can play on the mouthpiece and try and match the pitch of this professional trombone player. So again, they can play along with that. There's no background track in the way. They can just try and match the melody, match the pitch, and get a really great sound. That's going to give them a lot of a head start when they start playing this. And again, you can talk about note length. You can talk about air, all of those type of things. And let's pop over to the string student account. And same thing. We're gonna listen to the violas here, but strings. It's kind of the same thing. You have this professional musician. In this case, it's a couple of musicians practicing along, and you could maybe even leave the metronome on and have the melody checked, and then your students can play along and again match that pitch that's coming from these professional viola players. So there's a great example of what they should sound like. You can talk about full value quarter notes if you need to, and how the eighth notes are even, and the different types of bowings that need to happen. If it's going a little too fast, you can hit the slow button, slow it down for them a little bit, so if you need them to go a little bit slower. But this example, these play-alongs are really, really beneficial for students, band and strings alike. So we'll hop back over to the band account. And one of the other things that you're probably aware of is that we do have multiple options for accompaniment tracks. So while they can hear the professional musician play by themselves or with a metronome, they can also hear that professional play along with different styles behind it. It's the same music, it's the same rolling along that they're going to play and they're going to practice, but it provides a little bit of variety for what they're playing along with. The simplest version is going to be this piano track. And this is just going to be kind of like a solo that a student would be playing with a piano accompanist. So every track has these three, non-metronome and piano. And then we have 5 variety of styles. And they can kind of go through and pick their style. They can play it with or without the melody. So we'll put that in there. Here's just the gospel background track, so a student can practice play along with a different style. And we have teachers who say, they'll send their kids home and they'll just say, play along with each of the styles and let me know what your favorite style is. So then they're starting to talk about different kind of music styles. They're not having to play different styles. They're playing just rolling along, but they're a part of a jazz ensemble or a country band. And the students come back, and if they're using this in class, which is something we also recommend, if you have a smart board, if you have any way of playing this audio in class, it gives the students a chance to voice their opinions and say, I really like the jazz track, I like the country track. And you can have some more musical conversations about the accompaniments. One thing I will say, while the soloists are professional musicians on all instruments, so are the accompaniment tracks. They're professional studio musicians. In fact, the same musicians for every style. So there's some pretty talented musicians. So you can talk about those styles. You can talk about those accompaniment tracks and really help your students have more fun. And if they do play all of these, by the way, if they go through every option, they're going to play this line 7 times. So that can be a really beneficial thing for your students when they're practicing at home. Okay, let's just talk about just general practice tips for students. And the EI Music Studio can really help them on a lot of levels. First of all, just a general practice thing is that anytime students nowadays practice, they should record themselves every time they practice. It's just so easy for them to do that, and we make it really easy in EEI as well. But when a student is practicing, just in general, they take on 3 people. They're the performer, then they take on the role of the teacher and the student. And that's hard for them to do that. If they're just playing it and they're just the performer, they're probably not really getting better. Recording allows them to get better. They can be the performer and just make a recording. When they listen back to that recording, they can take on the role of being the teacher and really try to get better. And then they can go into student mode and listen and make a plan and try to get better, and then record again. So it should be a regular part of their practicing. So let's take a look again in the music studio, back into our strings studio in the cello track. And, they've got their basic play and record controls over here. But students, they can pick their accompaniment track, and they can do that. And then they can make recordings and just come in here and hit the recording button and get going. And I'm just going to show you, as they make these recordings, they're going to get these takes down here on the bottom. And this is something that could be really, really beneficial. I'm just going to do some basic takes. You can record on here, and you can do all that type of stuff that you need to. But you're seeing these could all be full recordings. They could record themselves and listen to this one and then make some corrections and then come back and record again and compare. Did I get better? Which one of these is better? Then they can record again and continually make recordings. You can have up to 5 takes at one time down here on the bottom. And then if you don't like a certain take, you can take it away and you end up back with 3. So they can record as many times as they want to and put those up. And that's a really great thing for them to do, is to have multiple takes. Keep trying to get better. That's what you want from your students. You want them to continually assess themselves and try to get better and get their best recording. And I would encourage them to do this on a regular basis. We'll talk about how to do some recording assignments here in a little bit and get them doing that, but they should be doing this on a regular basis here in EE Music. We'll talk about the All Music Studio here in a minute. Another fun trick that I like to have kids do is to have them, there's 2 ways they can do it. They can try to keep recording and use these takes to get their best recording. If they're doing really well, you can encourage them to try and get 5 takes down here that are all good. So now we're talking about consistency. So now, take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. All of these are good. They could turn in any of these, and it would be a great recording. So that's something you can kind of use this in a different way. Encourage them to record for consistency's sake, not just trying to record to get their best one, where they have not so good, a little bit better, okay, and then good. So they've got 1 take out of 5 that's good. Try to get them to have 5 takes that are good, and that's going to translate into better performance in your class when they get back to what you're doing in class. So again, they can record. They can record with the metronome. They can record with the accompaniment tracks. If you're going to grade them, I will tell you this: if they're going to send in a recording, which we're about to talk about in a second, I would definitely have them record with none or metronome, and it's your choice, whatever type assignment you want, for them to have the melody on or melody off. If you record with metronome and the melody off, it's just going to be a metronome. If you record with none and the melody off, it's just going to be a blank recording where you just hear them. So just kind of a tip there. Just depend on how you want to hear the students when they make their recordings. So now this is the EE Music Studio, and this is when they record things that are all connected to the book. But we had a request. We started off with just the EE Music Studio, but we had a request from a lot of teachers to have the students be able to record anything. So we added, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the All Music Studio. And basically this is just a blank recorder that will allow students to record anything. They can record it with nothing in the background, or they can record it. We've given them several metronome markings if you want them to record with a metronome. But they can do the same thing that they did in the EE Music Studio, make a recording, and then when they're done with it, they just simply give it a title. So we'll come down here and give this a title, My Song, or if it was the B flat scale, or if it was a song that you are doing for a contest or concert coming up. So they can make any recordings. You can have them make any recordings of any type of music that's in here. Now the music won't be on screen, but they can make this recording and they can save that and send that to you as well. So just want to make sure you're aware that the All Music Studio is there. That could be a great place for students to experiment, to record other things, and it's not tied to the book. So let's talk about recording assignments. We just spent time talking about how it's beneficial for students to record when they practice, and it's going to help them a lot. But we also probably all have students that won't do that unless they're required to or unless they get some type of reward. So you're going to have to kind of make some assignments for EEI to really benefit those students. So let's talk about how to do that. And to start, it's important that you just start simple. And the first priority is going to be to make a connection with the students. Just send an assignment, have them make some type of simple recording, and get it back to you. You can make an assignment in the EE Studio and All Music Studio. It should be something simple, nothing complex. It could be a previous exercise, and then you want to have a completion grade or a reward for that, depending upon how your system of grading works. But I would say have two deadlines with this. You want to have the one you tell the students, where it's due on this day, and then plan out a little bit. Say about a week after that is when I'm really going to have everybody in. This is going to give you a chance to connect with them and troubleshoot. There's going to be some kids that it happens and it's simple, and there's going to be some others that obviously procrastinate, and there might be some that have some type of issues that you need to kind of work through. But once everyone has completed, then you can use this for an assessment for everybody. So let's kind of look at how you would do that. So we're here in the teacher account, and we're going to go over here to assignments. And we're going to move in here. Now, here we don't have any assignments, so if you're making your first one, it's going to be blank. We're going to come here to recording assignments. And like I said, what I would recommend is you get in here, and there's a lot that you can fill in, but I would just simply, for the first one, just pick something simple, like let's do the long haul. And then, let's make this due on, let's have it due next Monday on the 28th. And then you pick, like we're going to have just our sixth graders send that in. And that's it. And you save that. So all your sixth graders are going to get this. Here's your active assignments. And all you're looking for is for them to send that in with a recording, and you give them a completion grade. That way you know that they're connected, and it's a chance for you to really make sure they all understand the process. Now, if you wanted to do the same thing with the All Music Studio, you just do something like say hello. So they're going to come in, they're going to make a recording. Again, we're going to make that due on the 28th. We're going to do our sixth graders. And now you have an All Music Studio recording. If you come here to active assignments, you'll see that this one's going to be the long haul. This one's going to be All Music Studio. That's going to show up in their accounts. They're going to make those recordings and send them in to you, and you're off and running. You know that students can make an All Music Studio recording and send it in, and the long haul or an EE Music Studio recording and send that in as well. Okay, let's talk about recording assignments now that you've got them set up and now that everyone's in. So you have to kind of decide how you want to do your playing assessments. You have live assessments where you hear a student in the room and you give them an assessment, give them a critique, a grade, however you want to do that. EEI now allows you to make recording assignments. And when I taught, we did both. We had live tests, and we also had recorded assignments, and we liked the balance. We like to be able to do both. So now you have to decide, how do you want to use EEI? How do you want to use this? Do you want it to be your main form of testing? Do you want it to be a partial form where you do some live and some recorded? And it's really going to depend on your situation. We have some teachers that use EEI, and they tell us it's so beneficial because I see my kids once a week for 30 minutes. So taking a huge chunk of class to record or to listen and do playing tests that's almost my entire week of instruction. So they use EEI, students send in recording tests, and they're able to do those assessments and not use an entire class period to do that. We have some that have told us that they use it actually as a pretest. They do see their kids more regularly, and they do like having that live test. So they'll use EEI as a pretest. So students will send in, so they're going to have a live playing test in a week and a half. About 4 or 5 days before that, students are required to send in a pretest on EEI. So it's a chance for the teacher to hear them ahead of time, and it gets the kids a little bit more prepared for those live playing tests. We have some teachers that use EEI just for makeup tests only. So they hear their kids live in the class, and if someone didn't quite do what they needed to do, they say, hey, will you make a recording on EEI and send that in so I can give you a little bit better grade, or so I can hear you fix these couple of things. And there are even some teachers who say that even the kids that did well say, well, can I send in a new recording and get a better grade, or can I send you another recording? And that kind of encourages everyone to do that. And then sometimes if you see your kids a lot and they're all in a full group and you know someone's struggling, you could just use the recording tests or EEI recording assignments as a supplement for students that need extra help. You can just kind of go up to them and say, hey, I noticed that you're struggling, so let's kind of why don't you send me a recording and we can kind of work through that. So it's a way for students, maybe instead of playing live in front of people, you can kind of catch them up. But we do have reports from a lot of teachers. I'm thinking of one in particular, to be honest with you, that said they had a student who was struggling and it was hard for them to play in front of people, and they kind of let them use EEI exclusively for a while, and it really helped that student's confidence. So it's a lot of different ways you can use these assessments, and you can make these assignments. But what I would encourage you to do is to make assignments clear and make them regular. You can make them via EEI, like we just talked about, and making a recording assignment, and it goes to them in EEI. We have some teachers that just simply say, everyone make a recording of number 22 and send it in through EEI. They don't even make the assignment in EEI. They just verbally tell their students, or they have an assignment sheet that's separate from EEI that they put it in there. You can give students grades in EEI. Some teachers may have their own grade book. You may have your own grade book separate. And so we have teachers that have just say verbally, make a recording of number 22, and they make it as a regular grade, and then they put it in their school grade book, and they use EEI kind of as a hybrid. It's the recording tool. It's the mechanism. They get the feedback and the grade, and then it goes into the grade book. So there's a lot of different ways you can use recording assignments to help your students. So let's talk about the student recording section in the music studio for the teacher side. So you've sent recording assignments out, and students are sending them in to you, and now you want to be able to listen to them and organize them, and this is where you're going to do that. And we've provided a lot of different things for you. You can see the color coding that's being put in place here. As recordings come into you, they're going to have a gold label that's going to let you know that you haven't listened to that yet. It's ungraded. If you listen to it and you think it's great, you can check. You can say it's pass it, or you can give them a passing grade, and then it comes up as graded. And then if it wasn't quite up to where you want it to do and you want them to redo it, there's a redo button, and that'll color code it and let you know that you've asked a student to redo a certain recording. So that way you have this visual picture of everything that's going to happen. Right here, this is going to be an assignment you haven't listened to. You can click right on that assignment. Everything in here is basically clickable. Clicking on that gets you to that individual recording by that student, and the music's on screen for you to comment on if it's a song from EE. You can listen to it and then immediately get in and type some comments about their performance, give them some specific feedback, give them a grade, and that goes right to them in their account. So it's instant. If they send in a recording, it instantly shows up in your account. If you make a comment and send it back to them, that shows up in their account. So it's live almost back and forth if you wanted it to be. So you can see once you're starting to grade this, you're going to get this color-coded picture of who's sent things in, who's done a good job, who needs to do some work, and you can kind of start to see where your students are. And this is where we're going to talk about keeping your students on track. This visual representation is going to guide you into where you need to make further assistance. Again, this is very easy to use. Let's say you just wanted to get one student. You can click on that one student, Jeff Anderson, and now here's everything that Jeff has recorded. And you can just it's kind of a portfolio. It's kind of a documentation of the playing assignments that you've had them do. If you want to grade on a particular assignment, click on number 10 there. So, and then here is everybody who's turned in number 10. And you can just go right down this list and make comments. And we're trying to get these to you and allow you to organize it and do things in as easy a manner as possible. So you can easily access recordings, easily make comments, get them back to the students as quickly as you can. You can organize this in a lot of different ways. If I want to see just my beginners, it's going to show only my beginners. I can even sort that according to instrument and put that in there. So there I can kind of see that my flutes haven't really turned anything in. If students send things in the All Music Studio, it's going to be organized by date. So you can kind of see the dates that people turn things in. So if you have them do all music recordings, then that's going to be where that shows up. If you want to look at that. And again, this is also sortable. All of these are sortable and filterable. But here's where you're really going to start to see the beauty of this. And this is in the assignment section. So if you do make an assignment, whether it's an all music assignment or a book assignment, you can go to assignments and see everything that you have asked the students to do. And here's where this color coding and this keeping track of students is going to be so beneficial. You're going to be able to see the work that you've asked the students to do and the fact that they're doing it, or that you need to give them more help. And so this is just another way for you to keep track of students on another level. And it's a really beneficial tool, a visual and a color-coded tool. Same type of thing. If you want to see the chromatic scale, you can click on that. But here's a really important one up here on the right. This is going to kind of be a catch-all. So if you see you have a couple of recordings you haven't listened to, you're not sure. So you can click on Show Ungraded, and that's going to give you everybody who has submitted an assignment and you haven't listened to that assignment yet. And again, you can just go right down the list and make sure that you listen to those. If your Show Ungraded is empty, then you know you're caught up with listening and giving feedback to those students. So this is a really helpful tool. It's meant to be very visual. It's meant to give you an idea of how you can keep track of students and their progress. Now that you've seen how the gradebook works, and with the color coding you can kind of see how you keep track of your students, now let's take this to the next level. When I taught, we really made a list of, at the end of their first year of playing, what do we want every student to be able to do? These are our core concepts, and that was what we used to progress through the year. So I would encourage you to make a list of those concepts that are important to you. You know your situation, how long you see your students, and their age level, and what they need to do. I would make an important list of those concepts, like they need to be able to make a characteristic sound. They need to be able to articulate clearly with the proper technique. They need to play these scales. They need to demonstrate slurring and articulation. We used to make exercises from the book and have those be concepts. So now what you can do is you can take those concepts and you can turn those concepts into recording assignments. You can pick exercises from the book that highlight those concepts. Like, for example, we used to always use All Through the Night and Scarborough Fair to make sure that students could demonstrate that they knew dotted quarter notes when we taught. We would also use Smooth Operator to make sure they could demonstrate when to tongue and when to slur. So pick the concepts that you want, find EE exercises that highlight those concepts, or if you have your own supplemental materials that highlight concepts that you want, have those be assignments. But then when you make all of those assignments, that color-coded chart now becomes this color-coded tool that let you know if all of your students are getting the concepts that you want them to have by a certain time. And it doesn't have to be, the end of the year. It could be a check for the middle of the year, or it could be a check for certain times of grading periods. But it's a chance for you to kind of get those concepts out there and make sure that your kids are learning and mastering those concepts. Let's talk about self-assessment, because self-assessment can be a very powerful tool for students. It allows you to see if they're hearing the same things you're hearing and if they have the same standards that you have. And we actually have a way for you to create and attach self-assessment rubrics to recording assignments. So I'm in the teacher account. I went to assignments. I'm going to go to recording assignments, and I'm going to come over here to rubrics. And this is where you can create your own rubrics. You can create a lot of variety of things for students to assess themselves on. And when you do this, you get to type this in, you get to customize this. And let me show you what one would look like when you're done with it. Here's the full assessment after it's been typed in. And when a student sees this on their side, this is all the criteria that I would assess a student on. So at the top, it's going to say, which of the following did they perform correctly? I would hope they would put posture, hand position, breathing, all of that. Tone quality, rate their tone quality. They're going to listen to the recording they just made that they're going to send to you, and then they're going to assess. I think I was good, I could get better. Rhythmic accuracy, I was really good on that. Notes and pitch, I got all of my notes and pitch. Actually, no, I had a little bit of trouble on a couple of pitches in there. I'm going to try and be better at that. So, and then based on this performance, I would ask what could they do better, and I would probably say just some slow practice. But this is what I would do. You can make these assessments anything that you want them to be and attach this to those assignments. So the students are sending this into you, and they are telling you what they thought of their performance. You can also ask questions. So here's like a music comprehension type of assessment. So they're going to answer these questions. Who composed this music? What is your favorite aspect of this music? What style? And so it's a different type of assessment that can go along with their assignments. And it's very simple. When you choose the assignment, you come down here to where it says Student Comment Self-Assessment, and you just find that particular assessment and you attach it to the assignment. And then when students send that in, it's going to be a part of that assignment. And you can make as many of those rubrics as you would like. You could make a generic rubric that is attached to every single assignment. You can make specific ones for specific assignments. But it's just another way for you to kind of get inside a student's head, kind of see what they're thinking, and help them focus their practice, help them focus their recording assignments that they're sending to you. So we've talked about a few of these EEI lesson plans, but make sure you download the EEI lesson plans handouts. There are several different ideas of how you can use EEI. And the idea is to use EEI in a variety of ways, not just as a play-along, not just as recordings, not just for the videos and resources, which we didn't even talk about today. But the EEI lesson plan handout is going to give you a variety of lesson plans that you can use. So make sure you download that. There's quite a few different ways to use EEI, and we hope that's really helpful to you. Thank you for being here today, and I've enjoyed having as many of you here as we have. We have plans for webinars in the future, so if you have suggestions, we'd love to get those our way. Feel free to go to eeiblog.com, go to the EEI tutorial section. There's a place for you to suggest a tutorial if you would like, and you can even put in there, this should make a great tutorial or even a great webinar. We always welcome your feedback. So please send us any information at eei@halletter.com. We'd love to hear how teachers are using EEI, things that you need in EEI. We've made a lot of improvements in EEI based on teacher feedback. So always feel free to send us information. Let us know how it needs to be made better for your class. I hope today's been beneficial. We really tried to cover a lot of areas. Hopefully you can see how you can use EEI to kind of keep track of your students and encourage them to practice. And thanks again for your time. We appreciate it. If you are on a teacher in-service day today without students, we hope the rest of your day is great. If you're at home on a day off on this Martin Luther King Day, we hope you're having a great day off as well. And thanks for joining us from your home. But again, thanks for being here. We hope this is beneficial, and have a great day.